Yeah. Your topic is children and discipline.
Parents nowadays have many problems and anxieties dealing with children. And there are parents that really get worked up around the behavior of the children, and they just don't know how to handle it. Now, what is important is that in this time and age, it's important to build this bond and understanding between children and what they want to achieve. And it's then to stimulate this bond and this understanding in children so that they can achieve their potential. Parents, I think nowadays, with all their commitments in terms of work, in terms of other activities, need to make time to give that dedication and attention to the children. So therefore, I think that it is important that all parents make definite time to give to their children to ensure that. I've given a very.
Why don't you sit on that seat as well, that I can just.
I'm better on my right.
Okay, sit there then. I just want you more on the TV camera then. Okay, what's the story?
Okay, I think I sort of, dreamt this out very quickly, but it's responding to an issue, and if I was confronted with this issue. Recently, the Johannesburg High Court passed a verdict that electronic prepaid meters used to regulate the consumption of poor people actually violates the constitutional rights. Okay, so it's a very major, significant development which has broad implications, etc. So someone from the TV needed an expert viewpoint on the matter, and they called Bhagwan, and they had 4 questions for him. So you can impinge. My English is not good. English I'm not. I'm an engineer.
Jay, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. So as you're obviously aware of, a very contentious issue on the table at the moment, the fact that poorer people's water, one of the few services that is freely available to them, is now being strictly monitored. Do you agree with the prepaid water being forced upon the poor communities?
I think what people need to consider is the macro issue around management of water in this country. We live in a very dry country with very limited rainfall, and I think regulating distribution becomes a key element that needs to be sort of extended to everyone in this population.
But surely this is just purely a matter of politics. Why aren't you guys looking at limiting the water consumption in mines, in big business, are these people generating enough income into the country for us to not look at the amount of wastage and water pollution? Why are we looking at the poorer people with less voice?
Well, you can look at it is that government has taken a decision to provide a certain quantity of water free of charge.
And this government's decision has been to attack the poor?
It's not really a matter of attacking the poor. I think the government has cast a wide net to ensure that poor people do not fall through this net into deep poverty. So they created mechanisms through legislation and policy that cast this net to protect poor people, that they get access to basic services, one of which is water supply. It is up to the officials and the technocrats to find the mechanisms in which they can do this orderly and appropriately. And I think technology has a very useful position in this whole matter, in getting this policy and this service provided to poor people.
Was the water not provided free of charge before in these poor communities?
In the past, there was a total disregard for water management in the previously homeless areas and the townships. And the result was that the service in those areas was very erratic, very poor.
Are you meaning in the older government, or would this be in the current government?
In the older government.
So surely with the light of the current government, so the apartheid government was in fact giving these communities free water, is that correct?
The apartheid government forgot about these people, and water was flowing, but of poor quality and of poor service.
But they were receiving water for free?
If you say it that way, yes.
So our idea of helping improve the poor these days is now saying you will spend your bread money on water.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, government has made provision that poor people will receive a certain amount of water free of charge. When they move beyond that band,
is that water a realistic number? Quantity of water for
the quantity of water that government is making available has been well researched, and the guideline that is provided by the World Health Organization that indicates that it is adequate for a safe and healthy life for a family.
And are you taking, how do you work out a family? Surely, I mean, I'm a family with only one child. Would you give me the same amount of water as you would a family with 20 children?
I think I need to mention that with many of these programs and many of government programs, there's always these very difficult situations that emerge, and there is no easy solution to these matters. In administrating such a scheme to millions of poor people, a uniform approach has to be utilized. And the consequences of that is that sometimes larger families get penalized through this process. I think as the approaches and technology through technologies like prepaid meters get wider application and acceptability, these anomalies or challenges that we face on larger families and smaller families, etc., can be accommodated with this technological intervention. So, in my view, I do not see advances in technology and prepaid technology as being a devastation to human rights of people and the water rights of people. I see on the long term that it offers greater responsibility and user management that is much needed in a dry country like this.
And would that also be forced right around the country? This is not something just affecting the poor people.
I think, in many municipalities, because they had to find a mechanism of regulating water supply, it would have been the first option to move into conventional metering. The opportunity was there with new customers to introduce this technology and ensure that there is an uptake. And if successful, this could be rolled out to the rest of the population, to the municipal consumers, whether rich or poor. But one needs to see the added value and the benefits the technology brings to the consumer in the sense of greater savings in terms of the administrative costs of water, but also that the prepaid systems put a greater control and responsibility for the management of water on the individual.
Is it true that these programs were actually brought about due to the fact that government officials responsible for collecting water meterage were too lazy to do that?
I think it's a combination of both matters. One is that we had a sudden increase in our consumer accounts, and the increase in the size of the municipality and meter collection services, etc., did not increase in that proportion. So we have this gap of capacity and skill to service all these new customers. And again that...
By new customers, you mean customers that previously in the old apartheid government were receiving free water?
Free, well, if you say it's free water, but I would call it the customers that were disregarded and pipes were just flowing erratically because officials didn't want to deal with it. And in those days, townships fell out of the jurisdiction of the city of Johannesburg. There was no administration for it. So just to keep the populations quiet.
Or happy and wait.
Yeah. This was the policy but the service was pathetic and poor. About 60% of the infrastructure in township was beyond repair.
So you think they're now getting what they pay for?
I think people are beginning to see greater customer satisfaction, and there is a number of quotes that can be mentioned where poor pensioners are beginning to find the advantages. In the past, they had to spend 40 rand to go pay a 20 rand bill in the municipal offices in town. Today, with the technology and the service, they are enjoying the privilege of content to a greater degree. One is that they don't have to pay for it, and then they don't have to use their pension money on transport to municipal offices, in the sense that there is no billing required.
Where would they purchase the prepaid?
The municipality has set up a number of mechanisms with spaza shops, etc., to make it as convenient as possible to recharge
your water tank.
Yeah.
Jay, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. It was great to have you in, and we wish you all the best of luck with your prepaid package.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Good, very nicely done. Thank you. Good, very well.